the Krampus bangs his gavel against the podium. Gavel! Gavel! Paul Sprinklewinkle, you stand before me accused of being purest of evil. How do you plead?
Well, a case of mistaken identity, Your Honor.
So you're sticking with the already debunked claim that you are not in fact Paul Sprinklewinkle.
Already debunked? It was never debunked! You never proved that I was Paul Sprinklewinkle. What do you have? Fingerprints? My ID?
That you attempt to cast doubt on this courtroom in the first place is sign enough of your evil.
This is ridiculous. Where exactly is my lawyer? Don't I get representation?
Do the poor, do the underclass get representation under your rule, Mr. Sprinklewinkle?
Well, not very good representation. I would at least like subpar representation, thank you.
What of your employees, Mr. Sprinklewinkle? Do they get representation when they suffer at the hands of your company?
No, we actually get sent to arbitration. That's one of the things that I hated about working under Sprinklewinkle.
So then consider this an arbitration.
Oh God, are we on trial? This is why I killed myself. I can't be on trial.
You are not on trial, Hitler. We are trying Paul Sprinklewinkle.
I already did one of these. I'm guilty of everything, Your Honor.
Shut up, Dahmer. Shut up, Hitler. You know what? There's your representation. Sprinklewinkle, I hereby assign Hitler and Jeffrey Dahmer as your legal representatives.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you for your magnanimity, Your Honor. While you're at it, would you like to turn into a kangaroo? Would that be fun? Really just drive home the point, or would that be too on the nose?
Order in my courtroom. Gavel, gavel, order.
Oh, you and your gavel. All right, well, what else do you have to do besides accuse me and say that you're correct about every accusation?
You are not here merely to be accused. We are here to present evidence of your evil, Mr. Sprinklewinkle. Thanks in no small part to the game that you just played. One of the most common complaints I see from my victims is that, well, they would have acted differently if put in a vacuum, given a different situation, or they never would have been this evil. Isn't that right, Hitler?
I wouldn't have had to do what I did if Germany didn't surrender as a first war. We were going to win, and I got cold feet.
Yes, precisely. You see, Hitler, he says that he would behave differently if given different circumstances, and yet we put him on this island as a chieftain among those people. And what did you do, Hitler?
I made them stronger.
You burned them alive.
What doesn't kill them makes them stronger.
The fire killed them.
Didn't kill all of them.
Sprinklewinkle, dude, you just gotta plead guilty. Just let it go. This has dragged on long enough. Your Honor, what exactly does Jeffrey Dahmer have in common with Mr. Sprinklewinkle?
And what did Jeffrey Dahmer do exactly?
Oh, I just killed some gay people.
Office, that doesn't sound like a big deal.
Yeah, I kinda ate their corpses afterward.
But now I'm starting to see the problem.
Yeah, but it was kind of genius, in my opinion. It was terrible, but genius. Like, you gotta hide the bodies, so what if you eat the bodies? Except I couldn't hide the whole body, so
Right, the bodies, yes. It's always a challenge, isn't it? You know, that's the thing. You never think about the logistics until you're there doing it. It's always so much more work than you'd believe killing people. It makes you wonder why we even do it.
Your Honor, I would like to reject Hitler and Jeffrey Dahmer as my representation.
Try mass murdering millions of people. I was just about to get a fork myself.
This is just unacceptable.
You know, there's a saying that a man who represents himself has a fool for a client.
Well, if people commonly had Hitler and Jeffrey Dahmer as their representatives, I'm sure they'd have a saying about that, too.
They do. It's called birds of a feather.
So how does this work? Is there at least a jury, or is it just you?
Krampus Jr. rises up from the floor sitting at a jury bench. He waves. And he goes, I'm the jury.
Oh, well, at least there's a jury. Am I allowed to address the jury? I don't think in real court that you're allowed to address the jury.
Do not address the jury!
Right, because that would cause a mistrial, and then you'd have to find a new jury.
This is the kindest I've ever been. You know, normally it would be your peers sitting there, Genghis Khan and Dr. Mengele and people like that.
No, okay, I'm perfectly fine with Krampus Jr. being the jury.
I thought so. Now let's begin.
Or we'll just say, in some legal systems, you're allowed to debate over the jury, so you don't wind up with, a choice between Genghis Khan and the prosecutor's son.
Mr. Sprinklewinkle, you were made chieftain of a small island tribe, and how did you treat that power? With supreme selfishness. You allowed those people to be slaughtered.
Well, they really didn't stand a chance. And speaking again, if I could, I would like a do-over. I feel like I would really have liked to save Kantu. He seemed like a nice guy, and Tabu did not even get a fair shake.
There is no do-over. That was effectively your do-over. You've lived your entire life as a monster, and then you were given a do-over on a fictional little island, and you let everybody burn to death.
Let is a very strong word.
Why didn't you stop Hitler before he killed everybody?
Well, I didn't know right away he was going to set everyone on fire, and then after that he had that salt shaker on his team, and he looked intimidating. He was very small on the game board, but during the game he was quite big and he was full of salt.
Yes, he was one of the good ones. He was quite tall, towered over everybody. You know, that's what you need starting off, Paul. You need something like Salt Shaker. Later on, you'll have to kill him. Oh, he gave me flashbacks to Rome.
To Rome?
No, Rome. He was a friend of mine. He also ran the SA. And also ran around in all the gay bathhouses. But that's neither here nor there. I'm sure the Salt Shaker didn't do that.
The Salt Shaker was in fact inclined towards same-sex relationships.
He was? Why are all the good enforcers gay?
Anyway, let's get on with it. You made no effort whatsoever to stop Hitler, and then you attempted to team up with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, he was one of the 3 chieftains. The scenario set it up that Dahmer had a certain amount of power, and perhaps could have intervened to help everyone.
Yeah, but I didn't want to. And you should have known I never was gonna.
I didn't think you would, but I had to try something.
It was really dumb. You should have given up and done something else right from the get-go.
Well, what would you have done, Krampus? How would you win that trial?
I am not the one on trial, Mr. Sprinklewinker.
Well, I'm rather baffled by the entire thing. I mean, allow me to make my case. It seems as though those people were going to get slaughtered no matter what. I mean, I really had no say or control over those other islanders that were coming in, and you put Hitler in there, and Hitler, well, he was Hitler about everything, and then Jeffrey Dahmer was there, and he did what he did.
Yes, but what did you do, Paul? You stepped in, and now you're stumbling all over your excuses.
Well, as the prosecution, I'm saying you need to be compelled to demonstrate what one could have done differently to absolve themselves of sin and still see that situation through in a winning manner. Because it looked like it was a losing situation no matter what. For one thing, Hitler was in charge. For another thing, we were all going to die. Maybe I could have rescued a few islanders, but I would have probably had to abandon some people. I mean, it would have been chaos and pandemonium. Maybe over numerous attempts, I could get it right, but seeing it for the first time, knowing nothing, it was going to go poorly.
You want to know what I would have done, Mr. Sprinklewinker?
Yes, make your own case. Tell me what you would do.
I would wave my magic sleigh bells and put all the evil men into my bag of torture.
Well, if only I had magic sleigh bells and a bag of torture. Why wasn't I provided with that during the trial?
Why didn't you tackle Hitler and choke him out on the spot?
I would have slapped him.
Because there's other consequences for that kind of behavior.
And then Salt Shaker would have slapped him.
You knew perfectly well who Hitler was.
You
know perfectly well. The reason you didn't do it is because you secretly idolize him.
As he should.
You're only putting on an act to pretend you're not Sprinklewinker.
Well, Krampus, you know what I think? I think you have nothing on Paul. Paul is a great man who got in my way, and that's... Paul, you're a terrible man. You should have never gotten in my way. I was going to fix those people. I was going to make them see the brilliant strategies that I had in my mind.
Order in my courtroom. Gavel. Order. Quiet, you. I'm the one doing the prosecuting, and I will prosecute the lines that matter.
Well, you know what my theory is? My theory is I did nothing truly blameless, and now that you don't have any clear prosecution to follow, you're just trying to throw darts and see what sticks.
Gavel! I will not permit you to cast aspersions at the prosecution. That is baseless ad hominem, and I urge you to stick to the material facts of the case. One more diversion like that, and I will throw a book at you.
Wait, is there a book? Is there a book with all the written rules that the Krampus follows? Well, throw the book to me!
The Krampus cartoonishly pulls a giant book out from under the podium. There is no way that it fit under there. It is as tall as him and must weigh several hundred pounds. He lifts it up over his head. He goes, "You want me to throw the book? I will throw this book at you.
No,
you want to see it?
No. May I read the contents, however?
I don't see how it will help your case, but fine. He opens up the book to a random page out where you can see. It's written in incredibly tiny text and in Latin.
Well, I cannot read a word of this.
I told you! Useless! And he slams the book shut. Then he tries to stuff it under the podium. It doesn't go, so he's got to, shove his body up against it, give it a couple of kicks, and then eventually he gets it worked back in there. And he goes, "Now don't make me get that back out again. It is a pain to put away."
Actually, wait, I think I recognize the clause in there.
No, it's put away already. I'm not getting it out again, unless, if I get it out again, I'm going to crush somebody with it, okay?
Well, there was no need for that. But fine, we'll stick to the material facts of the case. Well, the simple fact is, I did take steps to try and stop Hitler. I tried to do things in a manner that wouldn't make it any worse. I mean, if I killed Hitler, then I would have to be the dictator, and the island would be a nation governed by killing whoever's in charge now, and that's completely untenable.
So you're saying that rule by Hitler is better than rule by you?
Well, just that the system that doesn't let Hitler be in charge is a preferable alternative to most systems. And I don't know, maybe someone more sociopathic would have stepped in and killed Hitler before Hitler rose to power, but then you would have a different sociopath in power. Maybe not as bad as Hitler.
Ah, of course, and here it is, where you say that men of action are the ones who really rule the world and are the ones who we really need. Thereby excusing yourself, no doubt.
Well, can we even have it both ways? Am I a lazy good-for-nothing who didn't take enough actions? Or am I a sociopathic insane man who runs things?
You are lazy when it suits you, Mr. Sprinklewinker. It's as simple as that.
Well, let's just say then, hypothetically, that you had the wrong man and I wasn't Mr. Sprinklewinker, and yet you refused to double-check to make sure I was Mr. Sprinklewinker. Would that not in fact be lazy? Are we not all, at some time, a little bit lazy?
You are not the wrong man, Mr. Sprinklewinker. I am not going to fall for this.
Look, the fact is, sometimes you'll be in unwinnable situations, and sometimes things are just going to be bad, but, well, I guess that the best thing that we could do is try to have a system that feels like it's doing its best to be fair, and so long as you appreciate the process or agree with it, then that's as good as it gets.
And the system that you created when you were in power, was that fair to everybody? Was that as good as it gets?
No, the system under Sprinklewinker is awful. I'm not Mr. Sprinklewinker. I think that things could improve and that we should care and want things to improve. Well, you know, dwelling on what's wrong is part of how we identify what needs to be fixed, but being constructive and working towards improving things, that's how we get what we want. And that's what's most important.
Yes, it's clear as that we need to cut away at the bad parts of our world to make it a good world.
No, that's insane. If you spend all of your time and energy just playing whack-a-mole trying to kill things that you think are terrible, well, you'll never stop because things will continue to be terrible because whatever exists in the first place that makes things terrible, it will stay there. Repairing the damage that makes things wrong, that's what makes it all better. You could put me in that bag, Mr. Krampus, just like you could put Hitler in the bag and Jeffrey Dahmer in the bag, but you putting these people in the bag didn't create a world that precluded Hitler. All you have is one more Hitler kind of guy in your bag. And without changes coming from the world itself, because you never did anything, well, you'll just get another Hitler and who knows when.
Then is that where you'd like to rest your case, Paul? Calling into question this entire process and its value to society?
Yes. You know what? I hereby rest my case on the argument that this entire system that you've created is pointless and vindictive and achieves nothing. You may punish people who deserve it, or in some cases, apparently you punish innocent people. But never have you improved the world. And in some way, I wonder if that truly separates you morally from the people you have in your bag.
Very well. Then it goes to the jury. Members of the jury, how do you find the defendant? The Krampus Jr. goes, he doesn't seem very guilty. Krampus goes, Sweetie, would you maybe like to deliberate for a little while?
Hey, I thought you said that we couldn't address the jury directly.
I said you couldn't address the jury. He's my son. Krampus Jr. goes, No, I don't know. I mean, I watched him. It didn't look like he was evil.
If I may, I agree with the Krampus on this one. Paul got in my way, and that ruined everything. We could have saved those people if not for Paul.
I do vote Hitler very guilty, though. Krampus Sr. goes, Hitler is not on trial. Paul is on trial. Do you find him guilty or no? Krampus Jr. goes, If he's guilty, does he not do my next trial? Krampus Sr. says, Yes, well, he wouldn't do the next trial because he's failed this one. Then Krampus Jr. goes, Then he's not guilty. Krampus Sr. rubs his forehead and he goes, Okay. Well, Paul, I will add tampering with the jury to your list of sins.
Tampering with the jury? You raised the jury, you psychopath!
Ad hominem gavel! Gavel!
The court case is over. You can't gavel me now.
A door rises up out of the floor and Krampus Jr. scampers through. Oh boy, okay, I'm super excited about this one. You guys are gonna love it. Krampus Sr. skulks through the door, stopping to give you guys the stink eye just before he disappears.
Well, Paul, you made a mess of this last one. I hope you don't screw up the next one.
Yeah, it's your last chance, buddy.
It's the last trial. I just have to get through this. The two of you try not to make this worse than it is. And I go through the door.